Got this.
I thought you were getting a sample. Can we have a chunk for sample? Or just cut a chunk off the floor. Okay, English ivy. There we go.
Oh.
Lovely.
Look at that. That's nice.
English ivy is kind of a unique plant because it's used as a ground cover, but it also climbs the walls. And it's also a bit odd in that the younger leaves are actually more pointed than the older leaves. They become more rounded. And in some cases, it will only have young leaves if it grows along the ground. And then when it goes up the wall, it starts to get these mature, rounded leaves, and they can be quite distinct. If you scratch the stems on this, it has kind of a bitter smell, typical of the Raeliaceae family. They're seldom does it fruit, but if it does, they're kind of smelly-looking berries and yellowish-looking dull green flowers. So again, very characteristic of the Raeliaceae family. Commonly used as a ground cover. Not very good as a vine because now it's been pulled off here by the summer students. But when it was growing up here, it would get winter burn. Gets winter burn very easily. Yeah, that's because it's completely decapitated though. There's no connection with the bottom. But if it was connected and up there and exposed on the brick, there's chances are that it would be browning out. Now, not this winter because we haven't had a very hard winter. Now look at the back of the stem, you'll see it's got lots of aerial roots, and you can see where they've stuck to the brickwork. That always brings up the problem that vines are bad for buildings. That's balderdash. If your building is that bad, then it's going to fall down anyhow. I have vines on my house, and my house is 1841, so it's, you know, if the roots are going to get into the mortar and start to push it apart, then it's time to either fix the mortar on the house. It is a problematic species, though, in Ontario. One, it can become invasive. And two, as a ground cover, it's a magnet. If you read my opinion on it in Canada Plants, it's a magnet for voles. Voles. V-O-L-E-S, not moles. Yeah, they burrow into it, they eat it. Well, yeah, but if you're growing it in the garden, it's not good. And then you get voles in the garden, and then you get, they eat everything else, right? Well, no, they're kind of cute, but they can be cute somewhere else. No, that's moles. Yeah. Voles are blunt-nosed little mice. Very common. In England, where I grew up, this would be a huge problem on our beech trees and our mature woods, because they would be found in the woods. Individual vines would have a trunk like this on them. They would climb up the trees and envelop the canopy of the tree, cutting off what? Well, cutting off photosynthesis. Right, so the trees would decline. So we would have to go out periodically with an axe and chop them just at the base to kind of kill them, because they can easily overwhelm a tree. Now, I grew up in a very wet, moist part of England, and they love those conditions, and hence they were incredibly vigorous. We're never going to reach that point here in Ontario. However, I have seen them a little further south become problematic, where they get into woods and such, and they become invasive. We're actually removing, over long term, all of the Hedera helix from the Cuddy garden, because we have to be good stewards. Now, they were a botanical garden, and we planted some there as a ground cover. I planted some there as a ground cover because the owner liked it. But now that it's targeted as an invasive species, we have to show responsibility and have it removed and replaced with alternatives.